So in a society that we live in, when it comes to creativity and how difficult it's become for a lot of people, what are your feelings about creativity within a capitalist society? And are you of the opinion that it does in fact kill creativity?
I think people kill creativity. I think that, like, because creativity isn't a product. It's a product of your mind, but it's not a product of like that you're releasing. Like the can right here isn't creativity. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's some ingenuity behind that. There's creativity around maybe what should we put on the label, or like kind of that divergent process that led to that. Yeah. Now capitalism will impose limits to that process depending on what the outcome is being used for. So, for example, that can, which is at Kirkland brand.
I love it. Gotta love it. Costco.
Yeah. Right. So they I recommend kind of looking into Costco and their economic model. It's fascinating, but they have constraints. The designers of that team, the people making those cans, the number of cans they need to make, there's already inherent constraints to the divergence and convergence process before it even begins. Yeah. So the origin point of that idea already begins with a constraint, and therefore, like, you could argue can only go so far, whatever that even means. Yeah. But like, again, thinking laterally, like, so far it might just be like, if we change this step in the manufacturing process, we can do anything, so
we solve this, that, and that.
I think what it does is it adds anxiety into the mix, and it's often been labeled like the age of anxiety. I think
you talked about this earlier as well.
Capitalism, well, I talked about it from a design point of view, but this is like, I think capitalism adds anxiety into the world, in that we're always like, I need to make money, or this person makes more money than me, or like we're assigning our own personal value to how much money we have. Capitalism really is just about like assigning value to goods and services, and then selling those in a market that's open enough that people can buy it and whatnot. But like, when we start assigning personal value to how much money we have, like as if we're the people on the market, when really it's like the products or the services we produce, that is just a thinking trap where you get caught in the anxiety of it. And I was like peak anxiety last summer. I was kind of like trying to figure out what's my next move and whatnot. And I found this pamphlet about capitalism and anxiety. And I read through it and was like, it's so clear, this through line. It really does create that state. And why I would say it's not true that it doesn't kill creativity is that you can still be creative while anxious. But studies have shown that you're going to diverge a lot less. You're going to seek a lot more options when you're anxious. So therefore, you're not as creative as you could be, because you're not as open as you could be because you're anxious. So, and you're anxious because you're like trying to make money or whatnot. So I try to avoid connecting one to the other directly, because I don't think there's a direct through line, but I do think there's an indirect through line to these things. And if as creatives and as people, breaking those things apart and saying, well, what are the things in that chain that are actually resulting in me feeling less open or me being anxious? Seek those answers, right? Because if you can solve for those, I think like any of the type of work you're doing, whether it's creative like work or in the arts or not, will benefit from it.
For sure.
But I don't think it kills creativity. You can be creative in your room for 30 minutes a day, if you have a job that is exhausting and you need it to pay the bills,
And one thing you said about is that you mentioned that, we are creating product and things to give to people, or things for people to consume. Oftentimes, though, and especially in creative industries, there are artists that want to be the product. They want to be the, in the age of influencers and reality TV and the realism that people are looking for, you often have to become the product, right?
Pseudo realism. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a really interesting relationship, and it's something that's probably pretty unique to our time, especially with how accessible everyone is, right?
Absolutely. And when the person wants to become the product and they still can't disconnect that even the person that is the product isn't them. Like that disconnect needs to happen. If it doesn't, you can just get sucked into a vortex of anxiety. You're really you're then leaving it up to society completely to determine your happiness, your levels of anxiety, your levels of openness based on every post or everything you say or do.